I do not know whether or not I'm going to be able to have any effect on our Branson larger culture, but I'm telling you, for the most part, I love the way that we celebrate Christmas. My only complaint the last couple of years is that we always stop just a little bit too soon, because everything shuts down before we ever get to the Feast of the Epiphany. And so while I applaud the way we do Christmas, I'm going to see whether or not I can't get them to lengthen their own Christmas season just a little bit more. We shall see. Do not leave all the work up to me, okay? Feel free to write your own letters and talk to your own business people and do all those things. But we need to try to make sure that we celebrate all of Christmas, because if we don't celebrate this Feast of the Epiphany and to see the other pieces of the Christmas mystery that are revealed to us, well, then we're going to miss some of the most important parts of the story and some of the things that I think that we need to make sure that we make note of before we continue on with the rest of the year. Okay? Our readings today are wonderful in so many ways. The first one reminds us that we were a people who lived in darkness. All right? The darkness covered the earth. Think about what our lives would be like if Jesus had not come and shone light into the darkness of our world. Think about what life would be like if you didn't have Jesus. Would there really be any reason for our hope? Because the world can be a dark place. And sometimes we, as the children of the light, sometimes grab the darkness and we pull it right on over our heads. We do that. I don't think we want to all the time, but our human nature, there's just something about us that sometimes we reach for the darkness. Sometimes we don't treat each other the way that we should. Sometimes we don't open up our hearts to others. We harden them instead. Sometimes we're not generous. Sometimes we cling to everything we have. And trust me, we all know that we've probably got a whole lot more than we probably need? But yet we still cling on to it out of fearfulness, out of just wanting to make sure that nothing changes for us. We sometimes choose the darkness. And so we need to be a people, first of all, who know that the light is shone upon us, okay? Because Jesus did come into the midst of that darkness. And then, as best we can, according to our own female limitations, and trust me, I realize my imitation of Jesus is pretty bad some days, all right? But that's how we have to try to shine that light for others to see. We have to be an example for other people. And the real question I'll ask you is, when's the last time somebody came into the church, because they noticed you? When was the last time that somebody looked at you and said, I don't know what you're on, but I want some of it? When was the last time somebody said that to you? We have to stop and we have to ask ourselves, if that kind of light is not shining into the darkness of our world, how good of a job are we doing? How much is our light shining so that others may see Christ in our lives and Christ living in the world? Because what that passage tells us to is that when we live that way, when we live as children of the light, everybody's going to come flocking to us. Everybody's going to come. Those camels and those dromedaries are supposed to come pouring in with gifts. And not for us, for Jesus. Did you notice we have a camel this year? Thank God my begging helped. Okay? And actually, somebody else did most of the begging for me. But still, I wanted a camel. Now, we're still working on the dromedary. There's one more piece yet that we don't have, and that's the elephant. Father Joji says that we need an elephant with our set. Okay? Because when you're from India, there's not a lot of camels. But what are the pack animals in India? The elephants. Okay? I told Joji that if he makes a donation, he can get in on the naming game. This is Habib. Habib laughs at me all the time. But Habib was one of those creatures that came bearing something for the newborn king. We also got the ox and the ass this year, okay? And the ox and the ass, when we were singing Good Christian Friends Rejoice last week, and we sang ox and ass before him bow, for he is in the manger now. I went, look, they're actually there. Okay? So again, my thanks to everybody whose Christmas imaginations wanted to make sure that our Christmas scenery could be completed. Okay? But it's a reminder to us that people look to us to show them Jesus. That's why we have all this stuff, to try to show others Jesus. That's why we have things to trick our imaginations and to get inside of us and to say, hey, that's why we sing all those Christmas carols. That's why we string all those lights. Because we're trying to say, Jesus is in the middle of all of it, and he shines in our darkness. Now, there are a few other things that we need to remember about, because of this Feast of the Epiphany. And one of them, the key, is in the second reading. And that's when Paul said something very shocking to the early church, to his Jewish brothers and sisters, the chosen people. Paul looked at everybody else and he said, oh, and while we're at it, just remember, God gave me this message to deliver to all of you, so I hope you're going to listen. You do not have a market on Jesus. Jesus does not just belong to you. Jesus belongs to the whole world. Jesus belongs to the whole world, and we belong to Jesus. All right? We need to continue to remember that truth. Yes, we think we're doing things the right way, otherwise you wouldn't be here, you'd be somewhere else. I get that. But we've got to keep remembering that we don't have the corner on the truth. Paul had to say it to the early church. The early church didn't like it either. And they said, what do you mean? We're the chosen people. And Paul said, yeah, but the Gentiles are co-heirs with us to the life of grace. Stop pretending you've got it all trapped. We're bad at that. We think we're so good. And we're not bad on a good day. But let's remember that God belongs to everybody. And if you don't believe that, now look at the gospel story, because the gospel story shows us this in so many other ways. And it also shows us that sometimes those of us who are chosen might be the bad guys in the bad characters in the story, okay? Because as we listen to the gospel, who's supposed to be the good guy, the king of the Jews? Herod. Who's that supposed to be? Herod's supposed to be leading the chosen people, the people of God. But you can almost hear the creepy music start when Herod starts to talk, because he doesn't really want to go and pay the child homage. He feels threatened by the new king of the Jews. He feels threatened by Jesus. And we know what he's going to go out and do a short time later. All right? He's going to go out and he's going to slay every little kid in that region because he's worried about some other king coming along to take his place. And he's supposed to be the king, the leader of the chosen people. Yet where's the evil in the story? Right among us. Not somewhere else, but right there among us. Again, sometimes we have to recognize that sometimes we're our own worst enemy, because sometimes we get in the way of God's grace. What would have happened if those magi had not listened to God? Yet they're the ones that cooperated with God's plan. That God's plan that Jesus would be safe and could continue to live. And these are the magi. These are those astrologers from the east. These are the ones who followed the stars, which meant they were evil, wrong, sick, and bad. All right? And that meant that the minute that they stepped into the territory, we could have executed them justly because we were in charge of the world. But instead, they're the ones that come into the territory looking for the Lord of Light. They're the ones that came into the territory looking to find what the star was going to show them. They were the ones who listened to the dreams, just like Joseph. They're the ones that listened to the dreams and did what God wanted rather than what the king was planning. Let's be grateful for those wise men from the east. Let's be grateful for those foreigners and for the role that they played in our salvation. Let's be grateful that sometimes the wisdom isn't trapped just in us, but that sometimes some insight and some wisdom might come from some other places and some unexpected places to show us perhaps where the light shines, where we might not always be looking for it. One of my biggest disappointments this year was that I miscalculated when Silver Dollar City was going to close for the season. I wanted one last time to go out and to look at the Christmas tree and to watch the lights on the Christmas tree. I want one of those Christmas trees. But we probably are never going to be able to afford it, okay? But I want one of those Christmas trees. It's phenomenal. If you go next year, come and take a look at the Christmas tree, all of you that are visiting now. If you've not seen it, it is phenomenal. Because when you stop and you look at that Christmas tree, there's just something that lights up inside of you as its lights change on the tree. And last year, I sat and I watched it a couple times. And this year, when I went back and watched it a couple times again, my heart just started to just sing. And my toes started tapping. And I took some friends out there. And while this one particular song was coming on, I'd heard it earlier in the evening. And I'm just, I love this song. And it was a song about Epiphany. And what I love about it is there's a great bass line that gets laid down, and the bass line's doing its thing, and then all of a sudden the camels start to come across the tree. And then pretty soon the stars start to come across the tree. And before long you're smiling and you're tapping your toes and everything else. Well, I got so moved by it that I got up in the flower beds and started to dance. One of my friends decided that they were going to record it for posterity's sake. But I do love the recording because it's just me being like a little kid breaking out in joy, okay? And I love that. I love that when I just forget about being the priest and can just enjoy the joy of a child in the beauty of the light of Christmas. And so I'll dare you not to tap your toes at this song, because I really do want to sing this. But I really want to say to you is, though, on this Feast of the Epiphany, spend this last night, and I know it's weird because now it's the 14th day of Christmas, but oh, so it is, okay? But here we are, celebrating the last little breath, the last little gasp of the Christmas season. So go home and look at your lights. Tomorrow you may take them down. But for tonight, go home and look at them. Look at those lights shining in the darkness. Think about what we've been celebrating for the last couple of weeks. And rejoice that the light has come into your heart. That somehow the wise men followed the star. And when they saw the star, what do the scriptures tell us? Our translation now says they were overjoyed. But the old King James translation says they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. They rejoiced with exceeding great joy. My prayer for you as we end this Christmas season, and my prayer for me, is that we may rejoice with exceeding great joy. Because the Word made flesh came to this earth and still lives among us. The Word made flesh continues to enter our lives and shine light in every dark corner that exists. And where there is Christ and where there is light, well, I just think there has to be joy. O'er mountains and valleys it led them each night, a star of most radiant light. The wise men rejoiced when they journeyed afar to behold such a beautiful star. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. They rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Everybody. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. When they saw the star, they rejoiced. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. They rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Others saw the star, but they followed it not. To them it would come and would pass. The wise men kept trusting with all of their heart that the star would find the baby at last. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy.